Welcome to the Luxury Living Podcast, where we tour multi-million-dollar listings and introduce you to the realtors who sell them. Today, meet Darren Tackett. His team has closed more than $1 billion in sales. Tackett set a record when he sold an estate called The Altitude, a 21,000 square foot home in Scottsdale's exclusive Silverleaf community, which went for more than $28 million. Now Tackett's taking you inside one of his latest listings. It's in Queen Creek, southeast of Phoenix. This mansion is very unique because it's located in an airstrip community, so it has its own airplane hangar. Talk about sky-high living. This masterpiece is turning heads and propellers.
Welcome to Misión Veintidós, a one-of-a-kind estate inspired by the elegance of Spanish mission architecture. Nestled in the Pegasus Airpark Estates, this home is one of a kind and a tribute to the history, craftsmanship, and luxury living. There's so much to show you, so let's check it out. Misión Veintidós draws inspiration from the 21 iconic missions in California. The seller's passion was inspired by visiting these sites when he was a Boy Scout. This home is a modern reimagining of that enduring legacy, blending classic architecture with state-of-the-art amenities. The kitchen family room in the main house is literally like a hotel resort. 30-foot pocket door. Ceiling height is just hard to even convey on camera. Some of the biggest islands I've ever seen in a residential application. Super thick quartz counters, rustic cabinetry, Wolf Sub-Zero appliances. It is at the highest level of what you would expect to see in an estate like this. Also off the main kitchen family area is this amazing prep kitchen, huge formal dining area, and this really nice sitting room. And one of the coolest parts of the property, which we will take the elevator to get to, is the basement. So the 5,000 square foot basement is just like an adult playground. You've got a 75-foot 2-lane gun range. You have an old school Brunswick bowling alley, golf simulator, killer wine cellar, and just for fun, pinball, slot machine. I could basically live down here for a long time. This upstairs portion of the main residence is extremely versatile with an office, huge open game room area, and it also has a spa room with a bath, laundry setup, and an external entrance to the upper deck. It's extremely versatile and fun. It even has a fireman's pole that I can jump and take straight down to the entrance. This over 2,000 square foot detached master features his and hers custom baths, his and hers custom closets, and in a gorgeous garden area just outside that includes water and fire features. So the hangar, which is arguably the coolest part of the property, is large enough for your private jet plus 20 cars. It has pocket doors for your plane to roll in. It has this mezzanine area, an office, a snack bar, and it's fully air conditioned. So it really is what makes this so unique. You can roll out and go to Vegas or go anywhere else in the world you like. No estate property would be complete in Arizona without a killer backyard, and this is as killer as it comes. From the 3 different pools, the party hot tub, massive barbecue center, sand volleyball court, putting green, sport court, beautiful landscaping with gardens, all surrounded by the mission style architecture. It truly is stunning to witness. Misión Veintidós is more than a home, it's a legacy. It's where timeless design meets modern luxury, inspired by history and crafted for today. Schedule your private tour and experience the magic of this extraordinary estate.
Wow, Darren, I have never seen anything quite like that. Please tell me all about this property. Let's start with the name of the property.
Yeah, so we named it Misión Veintidós. The owner grew up in San Diego, and he actually learned to fly before he had a driver's license. He was fascinated with flying, and so his mom used to drop him off at a small airstrip, and so he learned to fly from an early age. But what really shaped him and where the impetus for the home came from was he was a Boy Scout, and they required them to visit all 21 missions in the Southern California area. And so he became very enamored, fell in love with the whole mission style architecture. So his whole life, he wanted to create this mission style estate home. And that's why we basically named it Mission 22 for those of us who, like myself, that don't speak Spanish, but essentially Misión Veintidós, because that's really what it is. It's almost like the 22nd mission. You'll see that in the style of the home, the finishes, the master being separate from the main house. It's just a lot of the elements that he grew up just loving, he integrated into this house, to really reflect his personality.
Yeah, and I also love that, it's very, it's got that San Diego Spanish influence, but brought it to the desert. Why does Arizona make such a great place for a property like this?
That's actually a great question. I've actually never asked him I think his company is what brought him here. He was very successful. He grew a company over 10 years and ended up selling it. And so he actually lives within the Airpark already. But like I said, this is, he had a 2.5 acre lot. It gave him a blank canvas to, and he brought in the builder, explained to him very early his vision of what he wanted to create. And he's been extremely true to that throughout. There's been numerous changes, because that's what happens when you build. Everything can look good on paper, but like once it's actually done, you look at it and say, okay, is this what I wanted? So there's been changes where he said, nope, this isn't like what we thought. Rip it out, redo it. So it's very much, and it fits well. We have lots of Spanish influence in our architecture. And it's funny, I'm good friends with architects, and I have one who's like, there's really no true Arizona. He's like, it's all a blend of different styles. And even in this house, you'll see some other things blended in, but for the most part, he stayed pretty true to the mission style.
And you talked a little bit about the Airpark. I mean, that's in itself is just incredible. Imagine having your own Airpark right in your backyard. Talk to me a little bit about that and that decision to be able to do that. Is that an anomaly? Is that something that that exists around here?
More so than you would think. I actually, it's funny. My ex and her husband, they live at Sky Ranch in Carefree. That was my first introduction. So, but that's much more propeller planes, smaller hangars. But I have learned, because I have enough clients that are pilots, that every pilot dreams of that. Every pilot wants to be able to walk out their back door and get in their plane and take off. So I actually did some research before I took this listing. There's actually 20 of these airparks throughout Arizona. There's about 4 of them through the valley. And so Pegasus is not alone. But it's unique in that the runway is 5,000 feet. So it allows for longer or bigger planes. You can also have helicopters there. There's jet fuel on site. And there's the way they built the runways, planes don't have to essentially cross each other. So it's a very safe air park. So, it's like I say, it's, I think, every pilot's dream to be able to literally just walk out, get in their plane and go anywhere in the world. And that's part of the attraction when they asked me to consider listing it. I just thought, wow, this is something that's so unique and so cool. I wanted to be a part of it.
Well, and you've had the chance to really see some amazing properties. Is there anything that ceases to amaze you, like a house on an air park?
Well, that's what makes this an interesting business. I mean, we do see a lot of the same stuff. So, anytime you see something like truly unique, you can't help but be intrigued by it. So, when I saw this as an opportunity, And especially after I went down and saw it and saw the size of the hangar and just the scale of the overall project. I just thought, wow, it would be not only fun to work on, but it'd just be an accomplishment to sell this. And it's such a unique niche that I thought if I can sell this, it just opens up more doors. I do a lot of luxury real estate, and the reality is, if you have a plane, you're in the luxury space. So I think it goes hand in hand with my resume, but just gives me one other really good hopefully sale that I can hang my hat on.
Absolutely. Now, this house is a house that really seems understated. This property is just right outside of Phoenix. Talk to me a little bit about the neighborhood that this house is in.
Yeah, so this is in Queen Creek, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the Phoenix metro area, Queen Creek is just a little bit further out than the Chandler-Gilbert area, which are really highly thought of family communities, but they still offer a lot of what everybody, moves here for: golf, sunshine, excellent restaurants, great employment base. And what Queen Creek is actually known for is really one of the best family communities, really good schools. It's more affordable than some of the areas of town. It's honestly unbelievable how nice and big it's become. I had not been out there for a while, even though I sell all over the valley. It had been a while since I'd actually got out to Queen Creek. And when I first went out to visit the seller, I was blown away by how much development had occurred since I had been there. And beautiful homes, commercial centers. The Gateway Airpark has expanded so much more, businesses. So it's really grown up. I think people used to think of it as kind of being out there, but it does not feel like it right now. It feels like any other, really nice area within the Phoenix metro area.
Well, certainly the area of Phoenix has grown tremendously in a very, very quick amount of time. Talk to me a little bit about where the real estate stands in Phoenix and why going out to a place like Queen Creek or Gilbert or Chandler is really kind of making sense for people who are moving into this area.
Yeah, so our market is, it's not what it was. Obviously, the last couple of years, everybody's seen a bit of a slowdown due to rates and other factors, but very bullish on Phoenix. When you look at the number of companies that have moved here over the last 2 to 3 years, really post-COVID, it's unbelievable, the amount of people that are going to continue to come here. We've always attracted people from just the climate, the lifestyle, but we've not always had this huge base of business like some of the other big cities, LA, Atlanta, Houston. That's changing quickly, from TSMC to, there's so many. I think there's really been more than 65 announced, but that doesn't count the other hundreds that just have not made it public. So, and what's nice about the Valley is it's fairly spread out. So it's not like it's just Phoenix or Scottsdale that's getting these companies. They're moving to all corners of the Valley. And so, with people being able to telecommute, the way the internet is these days, you can really have a big say in where you live. And the Southeast Valley, where Queen Creek is actually always had a very good base between Intel, Motorola. Wells Fargo has a big base out there. So they've always had a lot of good companies, but they have even more. They're gaining just as many. And with the airport continuing to expand and grow, it makes it easier for people, business travelers, to live out there as well. So it just has a lot to offer. I have several friends that have moved from Scottsdale down to that area. And that speaks for itself. None of them have moved back. So they get down there and they love it, and they stay.
Well, speaking of something for everybody, let's get back to this beautiful estate, this property. Besides the Airpark, what are some of the amazing amenities that people can expect from a property like this?
Well, other than just the really the wow factor when you walk in and you see 20+ foot ceilings and just the scale of it, it's obviously the finishes, the kitchen. The basement is probably the most fun. The basement has a golf simulator, it has a gun range, it has a 2-lane bowling alley. It's slot machines, pinball. It's, the whole property is kind of like a playland. The outside you have 3 pools that are all kind of together with firewalks, a massive barbecue area, sand volleyball court, sport court, putting green area, and obviously the 10,000 square foot hangar that can fit, not only a good sized jet, but probably another 10 cars with it. So, you're not going to get bored anytime soon by hanging out at this house.
When if you've had a chance to take people to tour the property, what are some of the reactions that they get?
Well, I think everybody's always initially just kind of like wowed, even the elevator that goes, because the main home has a basement and an upper level, and it's a clear glass elevator. You just don't see that. I've really only had one other house I've ever been a part of that had an elevator like that. So, I think the whole house is impressive. There's really not much of it that doesn't have a wow factor to it. But there's no question when people walk down to the basement and they see the bowling alley and the gun range and that stuff. I think that's probably the biggest, jaw dropper of, because you just don't see that every day.
You really would never have to leave.
No, and it's funny, the seller and my co-lister, Mike Hansen, my builder, they go over there and hang out. They enjoy the property, at least until we sell it. There's no reason not to. So it's fun. I've certainly hit some balls on the golf simulator and rolled a couple balls down the bowling alley. So it's great. I'd love to hang out.
I mean, seriously, you would never want to leave. But if you had to leave, there's a plane right out there waiting and ready.
Well, and I think that's the most, just the coolest factor, to think, because they don't have a tower. It's pretty much, if you want to roll out, you just roll out and take off. Like, hey, want to go to Vegas? Sure. Okay, let's go. I mean, that very rare, just not many places you can have that kind of access.
You also own Scottsdale.com. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you've seen that grow over the years.
Yeah, so I've known the gentleman who owned that for years, and I've always thought, that could be something really cool. And so, we got more serious a couple years ago and structured a deal for me to buy it. And it's funny, that is not my industry. So I for the first year and a half, it was an interesting learning experience. I certainly failed a lot, but I feel like it's been a good lesson. I've got really good people in place now. Now we're really, I feel like, have some momentum. We're expanding the site almost on a daily basis with not only content but businesses. So, I'm just trying to create a place for all things Scottsdale. My wife still doesn't understand it. I try to explain. I said, this is similar when I used to go to Vegas, and I would go to Vegas.com. because it was the only website that I could find concerts, shows, restaurants, like everything was all one spot. I didn't have to go to 8 different apps or websites. And I said, it's kind of the same concept. There's people that specialize in different aspects, whether it's food or fashion. I said, but there's just no site that just kind of has it all. So we want to have stuff on the high schools, on the sports teams. We want stuff on all the businesses. We do want the restaurants, the fashion, the golf, the stuff that Scottsdale is known for. But I think if we can kind of get all of it and do a good job, we'll definitely get the traffic from out-of-staters. But, we really want the locals to just keep coming back and have that be their go-to spot to just kind of know what's going on in town.
Darren, are you from Phoenix, Scottsdale area?
Well, so it's funny. I grew up in the Glendale area, but I always wanted to live in Scottsdale. I remember driving through McCormick Ranch when I was young and just going, wow, it'd be so cool to live over here. So when I came back from University of Arizona, I made it a point. Within a couple of years, I moved to initially the Desert Ridge area, and then within 2 years, I moved over to Scottsdale. So
I love it. Live it, story, living it. Yeah. So you know it well. Tell us some of your favorite places that you go in the area that you specialize in.
So my wife and I, we love to eat out. So, and I would put Scottsdale's restaurants up against anyone in the world. Like we literally just went to Thea at the Global Ambassador, which technically is Phoenix, but I lump it in there just because it's so close to Scottsdale. That was amazing. You know, we went to Elefante the other night at Scottsdale Fashion Square, another one of our favorites. Any of the Dominic's, Ocean 44, Steak 44. Maple and Ash. I mean, I could go on. there's no shortage.
If you go a little bit further, right outside of Scottsdale, I'm sure there are probably some hidden gems that that just don't maybe get the love because they don't have that Scottsdale zip code. What are some? Do you have any hidden gems that we should go maybe drive a little further to find?
Wow, that's funny. That's a good question. I used to think Evo was a gem in South Scottsdale, just because it's a small place, and then they opened up in North Scottsdale, so I feel like they've increased their visibility. And it's all Scottsdale based. Parma and the Greyhawk community. Again, smaller restaurant, not as well known, but excellent food. Oh.
Blonetti, I could see that you're definitely a foodie. Is that what makes real estate so appealing to you? You get to check out all of the great neighborhoods in the valley.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. I'm blessed. I work in what I feel is one of the best, most beautiful markets that you could be a part of. And what I also love about the business is I just don't sell homes. I've sold over 400 lots. I still have clients that do flips. I work with about 6 custom builders, and that's what's so cool is you get to mix a lot of different types of business. It's not just all residential resale and Mission Veintidós. I mean, this is super cool. I mean, normally I wouldn't necessarily go take a listing in Queen Creek, but this project has been a blast. I've done some stuff I haven't done before on a listing. So I love projects like that help me grow as an agent.
And where can we find your listings?
So I think tacketteam.com with 3 T's in the middle. That's the easiest. And really anybody can just Google my name, Darren Tackett. You're going to see a lot of stuff between my social pages, my different websites. That's just the easy way to find me.
All right, Darren, thank you so much. I was about to say I'll put an offer in on that house out there, but maybe next year.
Yeah, that's right. We always meet you.
Need a house sitter. You know who to call.
That's right. I will have you on speed dial.